$2,059 days. That's 5 years, 7 months, and 19 days. From the reveal of Kingdom Hearts 3 back at E3 2013 all the way to its worldwide release on January 29, 2019. No game will ever match the quality of anticipation as Kingdom Hearts 3, and I don't think I'll ever see a game in my lifetime to match this level of anticipation, except maybe Half-Life 3? And this game has left the community divided ever since its release. People really enjoy Kingdom Hearts 3 and found its merits to be some of the best in the series, while others may consider it to be a disappointment for what it was, for how long we waited for it. But that's not the purpose of this video. This is a much more lighter tone topic that I've wanted to talk about since Kingdom Hearts 3 released. I've had my own personal gripes with the story, and I've considered things that I would have personally enjoyed to see actually happen in the game. I thought about these things for a long time, and I wanted to create a video where I rewrote Kingdom Hearts 3 in its entirety. There's some specific plot points that I overall didn't enjoy about the game, so I wanted to get my creative juices flowing to see if I could come up with a story that I would be satisfied with. I do want to make this very clear though, this is all just for fun. Like, I'm literally making a Kingdom Hearts 3 fanfiction. This is a Kingdom Hearts 3 fanfiction, and if you take fanfic a little bit too seriously in my comment section, I just wanted to have a little fun with this to see what I can come up with. But I do have some ground rules that I established when creating this. This is only for Kingdom Hearts 3. I am not changing anything that happened in 0.2 or before that. I'm only focusing on Kingdom Hearts 3. I cannot remove or add any Disney worlds to the game, meaning I cannot take out any worlds no matter how much you dislike them, but I do add sections to existing worlds as well as bending this rule one time for a later point, but like I said, I'm going to save that for later. I'm going to be respecting the wishes of Square Enix. What I mean by that are the choices Square Enix made. For example, Phil not having a voice because the VA had passed away. I am not touching the post-game. This will just take place from title screen to when the credits roll. I'm not touching much of the gameplay. Sora still plays how he does. I'm keeping Keyblade transformations, links, attraction flows, and etc., but I'll get into that later. And these are the rules I had in play, but I'm going to start off with the major changes I'm adding first before we get into the play-by-play of the game. One of them is the big change that might spark up some debates, but I think it's important for my rewrite. The first big change is Disney worlds are now in a specific order. You can no longer go to whichever Disney world you please. You must go to them in this order. The new world order is now Olympus, Twilight Town, Toy Story, Tangled, Monsters Inc., Frozen, Big Hero 6, Pirates, and then the Keyblade Graveyard. My reasoning for this is because of the inclusion to my rewrites called intervals. Kingdom Hearts 3 in theater mode calls intervals the sections that happens between each of the worlds. We're going to keep that going. Although the intervals will be playing a much bigger role in my story since each of them will have a playable section for the most part. I feel this would help out with the overall pacing of the story to counter the idea that all the exciting stuff happens towards the end. I wanted the Disney worlds to play an even bigger role in the story, so locking them in this order allows me to tell interesting stories that links with the main plots in the Disney worlds. I don't mention Union Cross really at all, meaning all the plot threads from the original Kingdom Hearts 3 will be removed from the story. It really remains as a legend for this rewrite. There's only 2 instances that they remain in my rewrite. That's for the final world and the epilogue, which by the way I think is perfect. This allows me to focus my attention on the conclusion of the Xehanort saga mainly instead of trying to introduce new ideas to the players just yet. I'm writing out Pete and Maleficent. Since I'm removing the threads connected to Union Cross, that means their whole story of searching for the black box is no longer there. I feel they don't contribute to the actual story at all, aside from one moment in Olympus. I thought it would be better to just write them out completely. Although I will be keeping them in the epilogue. Like I said, the epilogue is a really good scene that sets up the next saga, and I think it hits really hard and raises a lot more question in the epilogue if Pete and Maleficent are absent for the entire game, and then they appear in the epilogue on some "oh my god, what are they doing here" type reaction. I'm writing out Replica Riku. I feel this entire character exists only to give Riku a purpose in the plot. Riku can have a purpose in the plot, which I will demonstrate, without having this voice in his head. I'm giving Riku a different plotline that doesn't involve Replica Riku. There's plenty of scenes that try and retell the story of previous games.
Xehanort betrayed his master, stole his research, and along with his fellow apprentices...
Alright, I get it!
I'm removing all of those scenes. I'm going to assume you've played the other games before playing this one, so I'm not holding your hand and trying to retell major plot threads from previous titles. I'm not changing a lot about the gameplay, as this video is more focused on the story of Kingdom Hearts 3, but with that being said, Kingdom Hearts 3 is the story of Sora regaining a lot of his strength and learning a bunch of new abilities. I would like Sora's abilities to come a bit more organically. meaning each of Sora's new abilities like Attraction Flow and Keyblade Transformation have a narrative reason of why Sora is allowed to use them, instead of Sora just randomly getting them as you play through the game like in the original. This entire idea came to be because of Kairi's treatment in Kingdom Hearts 3. She's going to play a bigger role in my rewrites, and she will be a playable character as well as one of the characters that I will get into later. This is just a general outline. I'm not rewriting full scenes, I'm just giving a start, a middle, and an end. Remember, this is all for fun. I can't satisfy everyone. You might not like some of the things I'm going to say, but that's alright. I don't promise to fix everyone's issues with the game, as that's impossible. I'm just telling a story that I would have liked to see. I know the Remind DLC is coming. Let's see if I get lucky and some of the story comes in later. And last but not least, and probably the most important one here, I'm going to need you to use your imagination. As much as I would have loved to recreate the scenes to tell you in Unreal Engine 4, I don't have the skills or the budget to pull off something like that. Alright, with all of that out of the way, let's begin Kingdom Hearts 3 Rewritten. We start off with it being the day that Xehanort and Ericus take their Mark of Mastery exam. Before the exam, they're talking to each other or playing a game of chess.
A prospective Keyblade master should know this. If you say so.
A sound goes off signifying to them that it's time for them to start their Mark of Mastery exam and to please make their way to the main hallway. This is where you would take control of young Xehanort. You begin playing in the room where they started playing chess. This acts as the prologue to Kingdom Hearts 3. You navigate to a long hallway that leads into a big room. Here you will take a similar exam that Terra and Aqua took in Birth by Sleep. You get to see some friendly banter between Xehanort and Ericus to build up their characters a little bit more. The exam begins and you hit around some balls of light, and at the end, both Ericus and Xehanort are dubbed Masters of the Keyblade. This moment won't take too long. You can get through it maybe within 10 or 15 minutes, but now this brings us into the present. The game begins like it normally does. Sora and the gang head to Olympus for Sora to learn how to regain his strength.
It's just you. Oy vey.
It's just us? Even for you, that's cold. See? Found him. How'd you get your strength back? Donald! Goofy! We gotta do this quick!
Oh, wow. Very nice. Full marks.
No organization! You're Zigbar!
One major change that I would like to have is during the Rock Titan Olympus fight. I would like a cutscene where Sora is struggling against the Rock Titan. He's about to be crushed by the power of the Rock Titan when all of a sudden, his Keyblade starts to glow. He waves it around and summons the Magic Mountain Ride. Sora, surprised with his new ability, uses it to defeat the Rock Titan. Sora thinks to himself, is this the power of waking? Then the world continues how it normally does.
I'll find my strength the way you found yours. Something to fight for. With all my heart. I guess you did have the answer. Yeah, I might even end up stronger than you are.
There he goes again.
And then we begin our first interval. Mickey and Riku are exploring the realm of darkness looking for Aqua. Once again, I'm writing out Repliku so there will be no mention of him. Riku and Mickey battle the Demon Tide and it breaks Riku's Keyblade. They both return to the realm of light to get some new gear. Meanwhile, Sora and the gang go back to Yensid's tower. Sora is so excited to tell Yensid that he used the power of waking, and when Sora explains that he summoned a roller coaster to Yensid, Yensid seems confused. Yensid explains that previous Keyblade wielders have been able to summon insane things using their powers, but nothing like that. This is the first time he's seen something like this. He believes he summons these attractions distractions because of the fun and happy nature of Sora's being, unlike any other Keyblade wielder before, and that it's a power of his own. Sora, being proud of that feat, quickly becomes disappointed when he finds out that this was not actually the power of waking. Mickey and Riku enter with their new clothing, and Sora gets some new clothes as well. Yensid explains then that this new clothing will allow Sora to do Keyblade transformations. And Yensid sends Sora back out into the worlds to actually learn the power of waking, and this is when Sora gets a phone call from Yenzo.
There's another heart inside mine. I think it's Roxas's. I have to find Roxas and save him. The others are following Aqua's heart. So I'll follow Roxas's heart.
And now we head to Twilight Town. Twilight Town plays out exactly how it does in the original game.
What is that?
Oh yeah, the other Twilight Town.
Can you take the photograph?
Whoa! What is...
Are you okay?
Another Twilight Town awaits.
Nothing would please us more than Roxas's return, of course.
Except for one major change. Painter, Pence, and OLED are now trying to open a doorway into the Data Twilight Town when you're leaving the world. They will be doing this off-screen while you're traveling to other worlds. And the Kairi scene that was originally here will be moved to a later moment. Now, we're entering the next world. This world plays out almost exactly how it does in the original Kingdom Hearts 3. The one thing I'm going to be changing is young Xehanort focusing more on how the toys have hearts and Sora making that connection with Roxas. Considering we just left Twilight Town, it makes sense for Roxas to be on Sora's mind. And this is where they tease the idea of vessels holding hearts of others.
The way hearts connect in this world can provide us with a clue.
Whatever you're talking about, I don't care. Put Buzz back the way he was, then get lost.
Thank you.
Now, off you go. To infinity and beyond!
Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting. This is the point in the story where we are introduced to Kairi and Lee training in Merlin's realm. Here, you get to play as Kairi in this moment. This area is just one giant room, and this area acts as a training area. It's a wide open space where Merlin conjures up spells for Lee and Kairi to interact with, similar to Kingdom Hearts 1's Magic Room and Kingdom Hearts 2's Olympus Training. After your training session, a cutscene will play where Kairi gets knocked down. Things are flying towards Kairi and she gets scared. That's when Lee comes in and saves her by knocking away the oncoming items. They stop their training and enjoy some ice cream.
Don't hold back, Lee. Promise? Huh? Are you okay? Lee!
Yeah, sorry.
In order for us to recomplete Roxas, he needs a body, right?
Yeah, to put his heart in.
I actually don't have anything I would change about this world. I love its connection to the overall story, with Marluxia mentioning shelving Rapunzel for later in case they need her. And it's just my favorite world, so I'm just gonna leave it as is.
You have got to be kidding me!
Yes. Evan would know all about the replicas from his time as Vexen in the organization. He was recompleted like the rest of us, but he didn't regain consciousness.
What if Evan was taken?
Of course! The organization could also use the replicas.
Given a heart, they can become just as real as any human.
Vexen.
After completing Tangled, you'll get a call from Pence to return back to Twilight Town. The gang has successfully opened the gate to the Data Twilight Town. As you make your way to Twilight Town, you encounter Merlin. Merlin lets us know about the 100-acre woods and that something happened to the book off-screen and that the pages have been scattered across the world again. Within the world, you can find 5 pages similar to the previous Kingdom Hearts games. I really enjoyed what the original Kingdom Hearts 3 did in making the mini-games in the world this line-up puzzle game. But after a while, it becomes very simple and repetitive fast. So I'm thinking for each of the missing pages, you unlock a new type of puzzle minigame. The first page gives you a minigame that plays like Buster Move 2 Arcade Edition. The second page is Tetris, the third page is Bejeweled, the fourth page plays like Pokemon Puzzle League, and the fifth and final page plays like Puyo Puyo Champions. This is a world completely optional, and you will get synthesis items for completing each page. Now then, we return to the mansion and enter the Data Twilight Town. Hayner, Pence, and Olette will stay in the real world to monitor if any issues come up. It's literally a simulation of the first 7 days Roxas went through in Kingdom Hearts 2. Something I thought that would be really cool, and kind of a throwback, is to make the graphics look like the original Kingdom Hearts engine, so it's the same graphical style of Kingdom Hearts 2. Sora and the gang mention how weird the data world looks compared to the real world. Here, you'll be able to explore the areas of Twilight Town that you aren't able to in the real world, so areas like the Clock Tower, the Sandlot, the Underground, and more. You'll also be able to do different things like play struggle and do jobs on the board. Also, the Final Fantasy characters that appear in this world are in the game as well. Your goal while here in the Data Twilight Town is to try and do things Roxas did to potentially awaken him. Even when you're playing struggle or doing jobs, you have no luck. This is when you meet the Data versions of Hayner, Pence, and Olette. But then, things start to glitch out. In this moment, bugs begin to take over the Data Twilight Town. The real world Pence tells Sora someone is hacking into the system. Enter Dark Riku. Basically the Riku from Big Hero 6 and the Keyblade Graveyard from the original game. Sora has a moment yelling at the imposter Riku. Riku is taunting Sora, telling him that Data doesn't have a heart, and Sora mentions that you can have a heart inside of Data. Riku then makes a fool of Sora and begins to use the bugs to tear apart the Data Twilight Town. The bugs aim to attack the Data, Hayner, Pence, and Olette, and Sora tries to stop them, but then a bright light happens to Sora and blinds everyone. Sora is taken to Roxas' Station of Awakening. Sora, confused with what's happening, uses the power of waking to release Roxas' heart from inside of him. This is important. Sora becomes extremely winded from doing this. Donald and Goofy look concerned for Sora's well-beings. Was that the power of waking? Sora thinks to himself. But Sora shakes it off and gets ready to fight. The now released heart of Roxas is just floating around. The heart has nowhere to go. This is when the real-world Pence then creates a digital body for the Roxas heart to enter. This Roxas looks exactly how he does in the first 7 days of Twilight Town. Roxas knocks away the bugs, and Data Riku is satisfied in seeing the awakened Roxas. Riku challenges Sora and Roxas to a fight. This is when Roxas joins your party as you fight Dark Riku and his bugs in the Sandlot. Roxas is wielding both the Oathkeeper and the Oblivion. You defeat the boss, and the Data Riku escapes through a dark corridor. The world has been heavily affected by the bugs, so much so that the Data versions of Hayner, Pence, and Olette are completely unresponsive. Roxas is saddened by this, and Sora talks to Roxas, telling him that the real versions of them are waiting out there to meet him. And so many new friends. They have a moment and finally meeting face to face since Kingdom Hearts 2. But Roxas can't leave the Data Twilight Town. In the Data Twilight Town, Roxas has a body for his heart to go. But in the real world, Roxas doesn't have a vessel to enter. So for now, Roxas is trapped in the Data Twilight Town. And since it's bugged and everyone is frozen, he's completely alone. Sora promises to find a way to bring him out there. As Sora is about to leave, Roxas asks him to tell the real Twilight Town kids that he says hello. And Sora returns back to the real world to continue his journey. Sora returns to Yensid's tower, and he explains what happened, and Yensid explains that he actually used the power of waking this time. Sora mentioned the feeling that he got when he used the power of waking, a feeling of intense exhaustion. Sora used this power to awaken Roxas' heart. This is when Yensid for the first time mentions that misusing the power of waking can destroy him. Sora acts shocked, and he's surprised Yensid has never mentioned this before, as this is the entire point of Sora's journey. And Yensid replies he never imagined Sora would fail the Mark of Mastery exam in the first place, so he never even thought to bring it up. Yensid also mentions to be careful, because he needs to use the power of waking to save those who were lost. Roxas was a step in the right direction, but Sora needs better control over this power to save the rest. Yensid sends Sora out to the world to try and master his new and confusing power. Riku and Mickey enter to meet with Yensid to let him know they're about to enter back into the realm of darkness. Before continuing, we get this scene.
Who's there?
You. Poor thing. I mustn't leave you with nothing.
Is this feeling?
We should go to the Realm of Darkness!
No way!
You can't go there until you get the power of waking!
Unite the heart with its memories, and provide it a suitable body within which it may flourish. And I believe any or all three of these people can be made real again.
Roxas and 2 more?
This is another world where I don't have much to change when it comes to the narrative. I really enjoyed the tie-in with Vanitas and how the Unversed are attacking the Laugh Factory, so I'd keep the story relatively the same. The only minor thing I would add, that's a gameplay thing for sure, is giving me a boss fight versus Randall. I feel like in Kingdom Hearts 3 you don't have a boss fight with a lot of Disney bosses, and in this world he was basically asking for it, and I'm surprised it didn't happen. But aside from that, I like it and I'm gonna keep it how it is.
Bye!
For the record, I still get the most laughs!
Happy exterminating!
Thank you!
Sora, somebody's calling us on the gummy phone.
We got bad news!
Huh?
We've totally lost contact with the King and Riku! They're all on their own in the Realm of Darkness!
What? See? I knew I should have gone!
I'm moving saving Aqua to an earlier part in the game. I feel like this was a major plot point in the story that could have happened earlier, and I feel like it would have helped big time with the pacing of the game. The game plays out exactly how it does in the original.
The Realm of Darkness. It isn't safe for you.
Mickey. You're too late.
Aqua?
Huh? I made it!
Oh. How, Sora?
I had a little help. Watch over the king. I've got this.
Okay. You're in the realm of light.
You're home.
Then we return to Yensid's tower. The important thing I wanted to do for Aqua was to give her a character arc in my rewrite. I like to imagine being in the Realm of Darkness for so long has had an effect on Aqua. In the original game, you kinda just save her and that's that. We move on and the story continues. While that is fine, we could do a lot more with this character. So what I decided to do was for Aqua to be insecure and have PTSD from being in the Realm of Darkness for so long. For the insecure part, the reasoning comes from her knowing that she was deemed a Keyblade Master was unable to save herself from being trapped there for that long. And as for PTSD, the Realm of Darkness is a scary place that can have hefty effects on someone's mental health for being there for so long. With that being said, Aqua wants to save Ventus right away. She jumps into this idea because she feels like she has something to prove after being locked away for so long. Everyone recommends that she takes the time to rest, but she's stubborn about it, and Sora goes along with her to Castle Oblivion. They unlock it, find Ventus, and Vanitas appears. Aqua, unsure of her abilities, fights Vanitas anyways. You play as Aqua in this moment with Sora as a party member, but here's the catch. Playing as Aqua, you do little to no damage in this fight. Anytime you cast any type of spell, your MP is gone immediately. It's a scripted fight. You're supposed to lose. Aqua loses and Vanitas is making his way to Ventus. Sora is trying to get the power of waking to work to awaken Ventus, but he's unable to get a grasp on it. Before Vanitas can reach Ventus, Aqua, with her final bit of strength, reseals the world into Castle Oblivion. It pushes everyone back to the outside and Vanitas is pissed. Vanitas, angered, attempts to attack them, but they all escape successfully. Vanitas calms down and thinks to himself, they'll be back, and sits outside of Castle Oblivion. I imagine him sitting with his legs crossed, waiting for their return. Back at Yensid's tower, Aqua is torn about her abilities. Sora is torn as well since he was unable to use the power of waking, but in a good old Sora fashion, Donald and Goofy are able to cheer him up. Sora wants to get better with the power of waking before returning to Ventus to make sure he can wake him up. So Sora wants to continue traveling the world to master the power. Aqua, being inspired by Sora's attitude, offers to join him to rebuild her own strength. This is when Aqua joins the party as they enter the next world. There's so many things about the Frozen world that I have to mention. I'm actually among the minority that really enjoys this playthrough of the world, but I can understand and respect a lot of the complaints with this world. It can be repetitive narratively and in gameplay, and our main characters are kind of stapled along with the plot of the film. And with Disney seeming to be on the back of the development team, I imagine developing for this world must have been very frustrating. There's actually a game theory video on this on why Arendelle is the way it is, and it makes a lot of sense. I'm not really going to get into it too much, but the main point is that Nomura potentially had really cool ideas for this world, but had to scrap it because it affected the audience's perception of Anna and Elsa, and Disney can't have that. So I thought for my rewrite, there's a way to not have Elsa antagonized, tied to the main plot, and give us some really cool character interactions. In this world, Aqua is joining us for this adventure, actually tying with what's happening in the main game and in the Disney world. The plot is going to follow Aqua learning from Anna and Elsa's relationship. Let's get started.
It's cold! Hey, Donald, give me a coat!
The market doesn't work that way!
Guess he's too used to the beach.
I like to believe we can have a really fun moment here where Donald mentions that magic doesn't work that way, but Aqua is fully capable of creating herself a coat using her magic. She gets a winter character design for this world. Sora's annoyed at Donald and Donald just laughs it off. And while traveling the world, we encounter our first group of Heartless. Aqua begins to have flashbacks of the realm of darkness. Sora tells her to look alive and they fight through them together. Aqua ends that fight performing a shot lock. Sora is blown away by this ability. In doing so, Aqua teaches Sora how to use shot locks, and this is how you're able to use shot locks in the game. We're joined by what happens in the original game. Elsa runs away from home, Anna is on the hunt to find her sister, and Larxene is causing mischief. Larxene actually pokes fun at Aqua, pointing out how weak she looks for a master of the Keyblade, similar to how Pete did to Sora in the beginning of the original game. From this point on, the story plays out how it actually did in the real game. We make our way to Elsa, do a sledding mini-game, and Aqua is actually seeming to have some fun. We fight Marshmallow and he joins our party. I think it's cool that we would have a full party in this world. As we approach the end of the world, Skull appears and Sora and Aqua get split up. This is something cool I'd like to do for this moment. Spoilers for Nier Automata coming up. If you haven't played that game, you might want to click away for this or skip ahead. I'll let you know. You know that one scene where you're fighting this machine as A2 and 9S? Every now and then the fight would transition between both playable characters. So I'm thinking Sora fights Skull with Marshmallow by his side, and when Sora reaches a specific point of health in that fight, the fight would transition to Aqua, Donald, and Goofy fighting Larxene. It would transition back and forth till both of the bosses are defeated. And once they are defeated, Aqua feels much more confident in her abilities as a Keyblade wielder. She also becomes inspired by the love Anna and Elsa have for each other. It reminds her of the reason why she's fighting at all, is to protect the ones she loved, to protect Terra and Ven. And that's the end of the world. We return back to Yensid's tower. Yensid notices Aqua's spirit seems to be a little better. He acknowledges that's the effect of being around Sora for so long. He also advises Aqua trains a little bit more before returning to Castle Oblivion. Yensid tells Riku to bring Aqua to train with Merlin for a little bit. He also advises Sora to continue his journey traveling around the world to become stronger. We return to where Lee and Kairi are training. Kairi and Lee are performing much stronger attacks and higher tier magic compared to last time. Riku and Aqua enter the scene and everyone gets introduced to Aqua. Riku and Kairi actually have some interactions in this moment. Riku complimenting Kairi and how much stronger she looks, and Kairi saying that her and Lee will be Keyblade Masters in no time. While everyone is all buddy-buddy, Merlin is ready to begin his next session. In this moment, you are able to choose between playing as Aqua or Kairi, and you do your training session. Aqua gives Kairi some pointers on how to be a better Keyblade wielder, so much so that Kairi is able to do stronger tier magical spell from her device, and Riku is really impressed with Kairi. Meanwhile, this is happening.
It's about time!
Hey, shut it! Come on.
Now show me the data you are hiding here.
Roxas and Namine. If there is any reason that I still draw breath, it is to atone for what I did to them.
He said Roxas.
Yeah.
That man needs us.
Right.
Yeah.
This way.
Hey, loser! Or not! Hater!
I serve the organization. This is treason.
For you see, I too wish to atone.
This is where Evan begins to hint at a way to pull Roxas out of the data Twilight Town. I'd like to open up this world with Dark Riku finding the old Baymax first. I feel like this world would have benefited from Baymax being the main issue throughout the entire plot, instead of showing up the final 15 minutes of the world. Aside from that, I'd leave this world for the most part as it is.
Ow. Hello, I am Baymax, your personal healthcare companion.
This is great!
Yeah, thanks.
What? Do you think I could take one of them with me?
No.
Come on.
No.
Who's gonna repair him? Just one of them.
Yeah.
Come on, please.
He's my personal healthcare companion.
Sora returns back to the mysterious tower and meets up with Aqua. Aqua feels more ready to face Vanitas, so they all go back together to Castle Oblivion. Vanitas still sitting outside the front door of Castle Oblivion. He hasn't moved. About time, Master. Aqua summons her Keyblade and has no doubts that she can beat him, but instead opts for a different plan. She focuses more on saving Ventus first. Sora jumps in and fights Vanitas while Aqua unlocks Castle Oblivion. Here you fight as Sora against Vanitas to distract him while Aqua runs inside the reopened land of departure. At the end of the fight, Vanitas teleports inside of the castle. Sora is shocked and runs inside the castle after him. Aqua arrives at the room holding Ventus, running towards him. Right before she can get to him, Vanitas arrives and slashes at her. He creates a barrier between the two, and Sora arrives too late. This is again where you play as Aqua, and this is your rematch against Vanitas. This time though, she plays how she does in the actual game. Full damage, full MP, and a lot more powerful. The fight ends and Vanitas does what he does in the actual game by casting Firaga to break the glass. Aqua jumps in and takes the hit. This is when Sora gets hit with the power of waking.
I have to wake up. The power of waking. I am calling. With all my heart. Thank you for always keeping me safe, Sora.
Only this time, Sora gets extremely winded like he did when Roxas left his heart. The scene plays out like it normally does.
Aqua!
3 guardians is more than I care to face. But now that my brother is awake, I'm just certain that he'll come to visit.
And they return to the mysterious tower. Kairi and Lee are absent from the scene since they are almost done with their training. Sora mentions to Yensid how he felt during the power of waking, as if a fiber of his being was disappearing. Yensid advises that Sora no longer uses the power of waking since he successfully used it to awaken those who were lost. Yensid advises everyone rest while Lee and Kairi finish their training. Tomorrow, Lee and Kairi return from their training so they can head to the Keyblade Graveyard.
Let's share stories when Terra's back.
Yeah.
Ven goes back inside the tower and runs into Sora. Sora notices something bothering Ventus. Ven mentions to Sora that he's been asleep for over 10 years and now he's jumping right into a battle that can determine the fate of all the worlds. Ven feels like he hasn't been able to enjoy himself in a long time. It's been non-stop. Sora empathizes with Ventus and has an idea. He tells him to stay up. Sora goes to wake up Donald and Goofy. Sora explains the situation and tells Donald an idea. And Donald is 100% against it. Goofy realizes there's no real purpose in trying to stop Sora because he's gonna do it anyway, and Ventus looks confused with what's going on. Sora wants to show Ventus a fun time before they head off to the Keyblade Graveyard, so the gang go to the gummy ship and take a trip to one of Sora's favorite worlds. The story of this world focuses more on Sora and Ventus being in a fun relationship. Ventus throughout Kingdom Hearts has been the young one in the group and now finally has a chance to be a kid with someone his age with Sora. Ventus is a party member alongside Jack Sparrow, and the story plays out how it normally does. But overall, Ventus is in much higher spirits, experiencing a fun world with his new friends. Plus, he gets some training fighting the Heartless in this world after being asleep for so long. It's the morning time. Sora and Ven arrive back at the mysterious tower as if they never left. Lee and Kairi arrive as they prepare to head to the Keyblade Graveyard in a couple hours. This is the first time Sora and Kairi have seen each other in a long time. Before going to enter the fight of their lives, Kairi grabs Riku and Sora and they all leave the room together. Cut forward to the scene back on Destiny Islands, sitting on the tree that they were on before their adventure started. They reminisce about the adventures they've had and how far they've come. Sora and Kairi's conversation starts to get a little too mushy for Riku, so he walks away to sit on the beach alone so they can have a moment. This is when we get this scene.
Here.
What? Huh?
Oh. Tomorrow's fight will be our toughest yet. I want to be a part of your life no matter what. That's all.
Riku returns to the tree saying, "It's about time," and they all laugh as they return to Yensid's tower.
It's time. The Keyblade Graveyard is up ahead.
It plays out exactly how it does.
Pull it together, Sora. We haven't lost them. They still have their hearts. But we have to protect them.
Right.
We stand together.
The one change I would make is that Aqua goes down swinging rather than just giving up.
Where am I?
This is the only place I'm allowing any bit of Union Cross stuff. Since the final world is a strange place outside of the other worlds, Chirithy can act as a small guide like he does in the regular game. The cutscene where you have a conversation with Naminé is also not skippable. You will see it.
While sifting through memories, I spoke to Terra, the Keyblade wielder you've been looking for. He has a strong will, and it keeps him tethered to the realm of light. I'll try tracing that connection. Maybe that'll be enough to tip the scales in the other direction.
Huh?
Let's just say I've got your back.
You go around collecting versions of yourself, and when you're done, Chirithy is ready to say goodbye. This is when Sora has the idea to use the power of waking to save his friend, but he has a flashback of Yensid telling him to no longer use the power of waking as it could be dangerous. Sora, realizing that this is the only way that he could save his friends, does it anyway. When you arrive at Olympus, Jiminy points out how exhausted Sora is from doing that again, but Sora keeps jumping forward to save his friends anyway. Each time he jumps into a new world, he gets more and more exhausted. This is when young Xehanort talks about the price he has paid.
You've paid the price, and it lies at the bottom of the abyss.
Wait! Oh! Sora!
And Sora returns back to the Keyblade Graveyard in one piece. The Lingering Will shows up this time to prevent them from dying, and they go off screen. The Demon Tide arrives, but this time you have Aqua and Ventus fighting alongside you with Donald and Goofy. After defeating it, it forms an even bigger version of it. Now, this is where I'm a bit torn, because my favorite moment in the original game is coming up, but I decided to write out Union Cross in this game. So I'll be removing the iconic scene of Sora using the Keyblades of the past to fight the darkness. In the original game, it also seems pretty redundant how Sora defeats this thing using the past Keyblades, and then more Heartless just show up anyway when Dark Riku shows up. So for the rewrite, after defeating the Demon Tide, Dark Riku shows up and comes in with the next form of Giant Heartless. This is when Yensid shows up and mentions Naminé used her powers to contact those connected to Sora's memories. Naminé let all of his friends know that Sora was in trouble, and Yensid uses his magic to open doorways to other worlds. Then I imagine we get a moment like this.
Sora, on your left.
This was my big moment to replace the Union Cross moment. Sora and the Guardians of Light use this as a moment to keep moving forward. The fights are broken up like usual, not too much to change here except for a couple things. For starters, Dark Riku gets bodied normally instead of Replica Riku grabbing him outside of his vessel. I wrote him out so he's not here to do that. They don't need that vessel now that they have Evan, who can easily just make another vessel if they needed. The fight with Mickey plays out exactly the same, and as we enter the fight with Lee and Kairi, I'd like for Kairi at the end of it to be kicked into a dark portal. None of that nonsense where she's grabbed by the wrist by Xemnas. I want Xemnas to kick her into a portal, showing she's actually putting up a fight. This is when we get this moment.
Don't do this. Wait. It's all right. You can stop now. It's all right.
Xion.
Since it's never established in the real game how Xion remembers Sora at all, I know they're touching on this in the Remind DLC, but this is how I would do it. Xion's heart would fly out of Sora into the new Xion. This heart would overtake new Xion's heart, causing Xion to remember everything. And everyone is able to remember Xion because Naminé is now aware she exists because of the heart, and uses her abilities to remind everyone of her existence.
You can wait your turn. Also ran.
This is when Roxas would show up. Evan ended up creating a vessel for him so his heart could escape the dead of Twilight Town. You then fight Sayax and move on to the next. Remember the scene where Terranort and Lingering Will are fighting? How in the original game we never actually got that resolved? I like the idea of when you show up to this fight, Terranort crushes the Lingering Will's helmet with his bare hands before the fight begins. At least we get some closure to that moment, and then you do the fight as normal.
Terra, now!
Before the fight with the Nort Court, I would like a moment where we get to see what's up with Kairi. I was actually inspired by the Panda Bandas comic on Twitter for this next moment. We get this. I've brought you the princess. I'm going back to the fray to observe the others. Fine, fine. It has been quite some time since last our paths crossed. Princess, it would seem that you serve the purpose that I scattered you to the stars for, and now you will fulfill yet another calling, paving the way to a new world. Stay still, princess. I will do my best to not cause you undue suffering. You can't give up here, Kairi. Keep your promise. Sorry, but I can't do that. I made a promise to protect what's precious to me, and I have to keep it. This fight is playable. It's a scripted fight, but she puts up a decent fight. This is when Sora shows up, and it's the end of the fight with Xehanort and Kairi. The gust of wind actually blows Mickey away, and Kairi is going to sub in as the third party member. Sora, Riku, and Kairi versus Xemnas, Ansem, and young Xehanort.
If you do summon Kingdom Hearts, we will defeat you, and we will close it again.
Perhaps. That is, if you survive that long.
After the fight, Xehanort is one key short. Old man Xehanort comes down and charges super fast right for Sora. Sora, not fast enough to do something about it, he's a goner. That is, until Kairi jumps in and takes the blow for Sora. Kairi sacrificing herself to save Sora from dying. And from that blow, the Keyblade is forged.
The Keyblade is complete.
Do it!
What?
Whoa! Where are we?
Whoa. Scala begins as normal. When you move forward, you fight the 13 Xehanorts. Only this time, after the fight, Xehanort flees to the top of the castle. Now you're able to explore Scala. The world is overrun by pureblood Heartless. You enter the castle, and as you explore, you learn more about Xehanort and Ericus' relationship. Then, you arrive at the final door. The final door asks you, are you sure you wish to enter? There is no coming back once you do. Yes or no. You press yes and enter the final room. The final room is where our story began, the chess room from the beginning of the game. Sora sees a young Ericus and a young Xehanort playing chess, but they can't see Sora. Sora spectates their game, and right before they're called in for their Mark of Mastery exam, Old Man Xehanort comes in and kicks Sora out of the window, and this is when our final battle begins.
Let's get him! Yeah!
Very well done.
The game ends as it normally does, but I'm gonna add a couple things.
We'll find Kairi. Let's head back to Master Yen Sid. We can figure it out.
No. I know what to do.
Sora!
My whole journey began the day I lost her. And every time I find her, she slips away again. I thought we'd finally be together, but she's out there, alone. Not for one more second.
That's right!
Thank you, Donald, Goofy. But this time, I have to go it alone.
Sora, listen. The power of waking isn't to go chase hearts around. Even if you do locate Kairi, you might never come home to us again.
I will. And we'll both be back before you know it.
Please.
Let him go, Mickey.
Riku!
His heart and his mind are made up. Now believe in him.
Yeah. Safe journey, Sora.
Thank you.
Sora is able to find Kairi, and I imagine we get a moment like this. Once again, I'm going to need your imagination for this one. If you've never played Final Fantasy 15, that's fine. Just imagine Noctis is Kairi, and Sora is Luna.
Noctis-sama.
ルーナ。
ここにいらしたんですね。 ルーナも。もう一度お会いできるなんて思ってもみませんでした。え？どうして？私はもうカンナギの使命を終えたから。終わっても一緒にいられるでしょ？神々はノクティス様の力を認めました。そして指輪もあなたの手に戻ります。皆さんのところへ戻られたらテネブラエをお尋ねください。たくさんの花がノクティス様をお出迎えしますから。ルーナは？あなたが会いに来てくださったこと、私はそれだけで十分です。なんで僕は死んでもルーナを助けたかったのに。もし心細くなってしまったら私を思い出してください。これからは少しだけ離れた場所からあなたのことをお守りします。さようならノクティス様。
Kairi steps off the tree and starts walking towards the cave where her and Sora used to draw on the walls. Riku notices and follows her. Kairi is looking around the cave, saddened. Riku asks if she's alright. Kairi responds with a broken voice. No. She grieves on the idea that she wasn't strong enough to protect him and how it's all her fault. Riku assures her that that's not the case and that this is what Sora wanted, for her to be safe. Kairi, fed up with all of it, runs out of the cave. Riku asks, "Where are you going?" And Kairi replies, "I'm gonna bring him home." After the credits, we get the epilogue, which I'm not changing at all, and the secret ending doesn't exist in my rewrite. I think it's better for us to not know that Sora's gonna be okay. It gives the idea that Kairi is really going to be the one to bring him back. How is she gonna do that? We'll just have to wait and see. And this is how I would have rewritten Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm not saying it's perfect, it doesn't answer every question or give off every interaction possible, but I think this is a way I would have done it and would have been really happy about it. This video was a ton of work, so I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe or pledge to the Patreon. Links in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay awesome.